Well, welcome to Theology of Love. I'm your host, Tad Inouye. How do you cultivate deep love? I think that this is one of the most important questions a person can ask of themselves, because most people want love. Most people say they value love. Most people agree that love is the highest value or the highest ethic, but very few people really understand how to cultivate it in a deep and unconditional and intentional way. Most people think of love mostly as a feeling. They think of it as something that comes to them, something they receive, something that happens when the conditions are right. When the right person shows up, when life treats them in a certain way, or when the world around them is kind enough to make them feel safe enough to be loving. They think it is mostly something they must wait for. So they wait to feel it. They wait for someone else to offer it first. They wait for life to give them a reason to be loving. But what I am saying is something very different. I'm saying that love can be cultivated. Love can be unconditional. I am saying that love is not just a feeling. It is not just a transaction to acquire, and it is not just something you always passively receive. I'm saying that what we're really tapping into when we talk about deep love in this way is something much deeper than emotion. What we're really tapping into is infinite love, the ground of all being, as I like to say, what most people might simply call love or God. And I do not mean that sentimentally. I don't mean this in some shallow Hallmark card kind of way. I mean that love, to me, is the deepest reality there is. It is the substrate beneath existence. It is what is always flowing to each of us and to everything in existence. It is what life is what gives life its coherence. It is what connects us. It is what holds us. It is what we are most deeply made from, and it is always supporting us so deeply, whether we connect to it and see it or not. And this understanding of love is always there. I see it like a vast river with a powerful current flowing to us, through us, and to all things. We do not create this river. We do not manufacture it. We do not earn it. It is already there. It has always been there, aiding us if we can just tap into it and allow it to carry us. But what we often try to do is control it. We try to dam it up. We try to pinch it off. We try to redirect it. We try to block it and use it for our own needs and purposes. We sometimes even convince ourselves that it is not there at all. But the truth is that we are not lacking love. We are choosing to connect to it and let it flow freely to us and with us or not. This is the cornerstone of my theology and beliefs. We are not lacking love. We are choosing what to do with the flow that is always being offered to us. And that means the real work is not creating love from scratch. The real work is becoming aware of the ways we cut it off from ourselves and the ways we redirect it, the ways we dam it up, the ways we withhold it, and the ways we keep it from moving through us freely. I think we do this for a few reasons. Sometimes it's fear, the fear of losing something inside, the fear that if we give love, we will have less somehow, the fear that if we are loving, we will be vulnerable, the fear that if we open ourselves too much, we will not be safe, and the fear that we will not be valued equally when we love others freely. We fear that we will not be respected, or that if we offer love unconditionally, then we may not receive it in return. And somehow life will not be fair to us, and we may not receive our portion back. We treat love like a scarce commodity. We believe if we give love, I should get love back from the person I offer to. If I'm kind, they should be kind as well. If I offer consideration, then I should receive consideration back. We do not want to feel that we are in an unfair exchange. We do not want to feel that we are giving more than we are getting. And so we hold it back. And sometimes, if we're really honest, we're trying to manipulate outcomes. We're trying to use the withholding of love to make life give us what we want from others. We are trying to control people. We are trying to influence circumstances. We are trying to get a result we desire from others. If this is in part what we are doing, then you do not understand love as I am trying to explain it. Sometimes this fear shows up within us, like we are trying to keep score, trying to manipulate the outcomes of our experience with love. But underneath all of that is the same misunderstanding. It is the misunderstanding that love is a scarce commodity, that value comes from outside of us, that we are in danger of losing something ultimate if we offer love freely. And if I do not believe this at all, but I do not believe this at all. Love is and always has been an unlimited resource that we can have no matter what the outcome is from others in life. Love must not be seen as a transaction in this way if you want to feel it in everything you do and receive. It can be an offering we can each give freely if we want to experience the kind of unconditional love I am talking about. And the value is not mainly in receiving it. The value is in offering it freely. Because when you offer love, you are the one who experiences it. This is one of the most important ideas in this whole discussion for me. When you offer love, you are the one who feels it. The other person may benefit, yes, and I hope they do, but you are the one who lives in the energy of what you're generating. Hate works in the same way. If you hate someone, you are the one who feels the hate. You might direct it at somebody else, but you are the one carrying it, and you are the one that is transforming your own experience. You are the one saturating your own body, your own nervous system, your own mind, your own experience with that hatred. All emotions work the same way. If you flow love, if you experience love, you experience love. If you cultivate bitterness, you experience bitterness. What you cultivate within you is what you live in and what you live from. What you focus on and embody is what you become in your experience, and most often in the experience that others have with us. And underneath all this is something even deeper. People think they are going to lose something. Now really think about this. What can you really lose? You can lose some money. You can lose some of your time. You can lose opportunities in life. You can lose things. You can lose relationships. You can even lose your body. All of those things can happen in this life. But you cannot lose your infinite and eternal spirit. You cannot lose the real loving connection that is yours to feel from all of life and others. You cannot lose the deepest value of who you are. You can hold it back, you can deny it, you can forget it, you can misinterpret your life and become very distant from it, but you cannot really lose it or lose access to it if you choose to focus and offer it freely. The illusion of this life is that everything is so final, that everything is so permanent, that everything is so ultimate, that if something goes wrong or something is taken from you, then something essential about you has been erased. I don't believe that at all. I believe we are more than our bodies. I believe that we are more than our pain. I believe that we are more than the events that happen in this life. I believe we are spiritual beings having a physical experience for the sake of remembering something deeper within us. And if that is true, then the meaning of what happens to us is not fixed by the event itself. The meaning is shaped by how we interpret it, how we align in response to it, and what fruit it produces within us. The truth is, whether we decide to embrace our deepest nature, the truth is, do we decide to align with love? So what does cultivating deep and unconditional love really look like? I think it starts simply, but I do not think simple means shallow. I can start with simple things, but it deepens very quickly if you really practice it. One of the first practices I suggest is to do something kind for something else. Do something kind for an animal. Do something kind for yourself. Start offering love to all and everything you can. Do this simply and without reason. Like a smile to a stranger, or a warm encouragement to someone in need, a sincere handshake, or even just listening to someone without trying to change them. Honor someone's journey by holding space for them when they need to know they are not alone in their suffering. Start there, because we are feeling creatures. We pick up on things, nonverbal cues and emotional energy. We sense things. We communicate in much more than just with words. We feel tone, we feel posture, we feel warmth. We feel withdrawal, we feel judgment, and we feel kindness. So when we act in love, we practice kindness. Something opens inside us. It opens in the other person too, but it also opens in us. And over time, that opening becomes more natural to us in behavior and in feeling. It becomes more familiar. It becomes more like home. It reveals who you are. It transforms your experience into something so powerful that it is hard to explain, and others start to experience it from us too, in very powerful ways. I have experienced this, and I know others like Jesus also experienced this as well. Love is not just a feeling. It is what you do. It is what you say. It is how you show up. It is the choices you make. It is how you orient your attention. It is how you use your words. It is what you refuse to say. It is what you refuse to indulge. It is what you offer when it is inconvenient. It opens a door even when you do not feel like it. It is the kind of word when you could have said a harsh one. And it is not saying the critical thing that you could say. It is helping somebody when you do not have to. It is giving of yourself in ways that stretch you a little. It is also doing for another when what you would hope somebody would do for you if you were in that exact same position. Love is not just what you feel. It is our actions. It is our offerings. It is the way of being in spite of conditions. Now, you are not always going to feel like it. I want to be very clear about that, because I think this is where people get hung up. They think that if they do not feel love, then they cannot practice love. I do not agree. I think the feeling often flows from the action. I think the feeling often follows the disciplines of our lives. In this way, I think it's like going to the gym. People are always waiting to be motivated, but motivation is unreliable. It's often not there when we desire it. It comes and goes. It is there sometimes, and it is not there at other times. But discipline creates your patterns, and your patterns create who you show up in your life as. Each person experiences motivation differently, and if you only rely on motivation to create your patterns, then we all become those things we do most often. Love is the same way. You do not wait until you feel loving. You always act in loving ways. You set up the actions so you can behave and eventually feel your life in loving ways. You first decide what a loving person does, how a loving person thinks, how a loving person speaks, and then you begin practicing that. Even if at first it feels awkward, even if it feels forced, even if it feels a little inauthentic. Doing first often produces learning. Doing first often produces the inner change most of us really want. This is why awareness of inner work are so important to me, and why I want to say something here. And I want to say something here because I think a lot of people misunderstand what inner work really is. They think inner work is just identifying their traumas, naming their triggers, and recognizing when they get upset, even recognizing their own patterns. And that is a part of it, yes, but that is only half the job. The other half of the job is understanding those patterns more deeply, creating a new way to respond, and then actually acting on it. Inner work is not just self-diagnosis. It is not just insight. It is not just the ability to articulate your wounds. Inner work is seeing more deeply, deciding more intentionally, and then practicing a new response consistently enough so that it forms a new pattern you want And then the magic comes. It changes you deeply, and you transform into the person you have decided to be. Much of the key to this is, at least for me, is metacognition. You have to get in the habit of thinking how you think. You have to get in the habit of examining your own beliefs, your own reactions, your own motives, your own emotional patterns, and the fruits of your behaviors and thoughts. Otherwise, you are just going to live on autopilot. You're going to be a reactor to your environments. Something happens, you react. Someone is kind, you are kind. Someone is rude, you are rude. Something or someone hurts you, and you extend that hurt outwards. Now, that is not intentional living. That is not deep love. That is just living in reaction mode. That is what most people call living unconsciously. So when negative emotion shows up in me, when I feel hurt, shame, jealousy, envy, anger, or resentment, whatever it is, the first thing I try to do is become aware. What am I feeling? Where does it live in my body? What is it trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? What message am I believing about myself or my life right now that is pulling me away from love? Is that message true? And here is how I know. What fruit is it producing within me? Because if it is not producing love, connection, compassion, understanding, or patience, then to me it is bad fruit. And I don't eat bad fruit. I only like to consume good fruit. The kind of fruit that encourages and fosters love and my connection to source. Now that I know something about the message I am receiving, I know something about the direction I may be leaning, and then I have a choice. I can continue to build my identity around the hurt, or I can question it. I can sit with it. I can feel it without becoming it. I can choose differently and accurately to my intentions. Now, this is important too. We do experience real pain and real hurt in this life. I'm not denying that, and I'm not saying pain is not there. I am not saying betrayal is not experienced, and I'm not saying physical injury or grief is fake. But I am asking a deeper question in my life. Do I want to become my pain? Do I want to become my hurt? Will I allow it to define me? Do I let it tell a lie about who I am? Because I don't think these things are accurate, and I don't think they produce anything constructive or good within me. I think it usually produces more pain. I think it usually produces more fear, and it usually produces more separation from my most authentic self, which is love. So yes, we feel hurt, but are we going to build our identity around the hurt? That is the deeper question. That is not easy, especially for those who are experiencing deep suffering, either physically or emotionally. But I think it is worth the effort. How have I come to this? If you believe you are only your body and only this life experience, then of course hurt will feel final and absolute and deeply unfair. And I think you're going to have a very rough journey if that is your whole framework. But I do not believe that is the deepest truth of who we are. I believe we are more than our bodies and our experiences. We absolutely experience real pain and suffering, but we can allow our pain and suffering to instruct us and reveal something deeper about ourselves. Only then can pain and suffering not feel ultimate. And it can aid us in transmuting our experiences into something more meaningful and helpful to mentor deep unconditional love. And if that is true, then pain can be real without becoming all we experience. This applies in very ordinary moments too, not just the big dramatic ones. If someone is rude to me at a grocery store, in a coffee shop line, at work, or at some simple public interaction, I know that I do not know what is happening inside of them that may be triggering them. They are probably just being reactive to me or something in their experience. If I respond with a knee-jerk reaction back, if I match their tone, if I become harsh just because they are harsh, then I have immediately stepped out of the alignment with love. So for me, the first move is the awareness that they are having some experience and are most likely focused away from love, and that is okay. This is not me, and they are allowed to have their experience. There is something arising within them. If my intentions are good and I'm trying to offer consideration and I get this kind of response, then the first response I want to cultivate is care and concern. Are you okay? Is there something wrong? Is there something upsetting you? Or I chose to not disrupt them any further. I want my first response to be care. They are obviously having a moment, and they have chosen me as a target for their reaction. But that does not mean I have to return the same in kind of reaction. The same thing happens in more intimate ways as well. Something you love becomes cold or distant. A friend pulls away, a partner becomes withdrawn, a family member gets sharp or mean. Most people respond to that by retreating to or matching their response. They try to return distance with distance. They punish coldness with coldness. They withdraw love, hoping to get love or show them by attempting to invoke what is being felt by making them feel the same in return. But I think often what is happening here is unconscious manipulation. People may not know they are doing it. They probably learned it a long time ago. They may be trying to get what they want by withholding what they actually need and desire. So again, I step back and I ask myself, have I been hateful or spiteful here? What might be going on within them? What do they really want? Love? To be seen? To be understood? Reassurance? Clarity? Then I ask more questions. What is wrong? Why are you upset? Help me understand what is going on. Sometimes that opens their awareness just enough for them to see something different and reflect back at them how they are behaving. Sometimes they begin to see what they are doing. And if they do not, at least I can start responding to the real concern instead of just surface temperament. And if I detect that I really am part of the problem, if I see that something I said or did triggered them, intentionally or unintentionally, then cultivating deep love means I bring that into the light. If I said something that moved you to anger, if I made you upset, I am sorry. That was not my intention. I have to acknowledge when I contribute to harm, even if I did not mean to. I have to affirm that I will do my best to reorient and to not keep doing that. To me, that is real repentance and alignment to love. It is acknowledgement, honesty, admission of hurt caused, and reorientation of the heart. Not perfection. We are not perfect. It may happen again, but I stay vigilant and I self-correct continuously. Another common thing is when we do something kind for someone and they do not appreciate it or reciprocate it back. They ignore it. They take it for granted. They feel entitled. They use it. They do not see it for what it is. And a lot of people then begin to feel resentful. Why should I keep giving if this is how they respond? For me, this is where the non-transactional nature of love really matters. Once I offer love, I let it go. If they appreciate it, then wonderful. If they do not, it is not my job to manage their feelings for them. It is not my job to make them appreciate me or my offering. They are in charge of their own experience. I am in charge of mine. So I continue to offer love and I allow others to have their experiences. It can be disappointing, yes. It can sting, yes. But it is usually just because I am expecting a particular outcome. But I do not have the right to alter their learning process just because I do not like how they are responding. We all have to learn in our own way. I cannot learn in your way, and you cannot learn in mine. So if I really love someone, sometimes that means I allow them the dignity of their own path, even if their response to my offering is immature or shallow or blind to me. Jealousy is another big one. We can feel overlooked or left out when we see someone else receive praise, affection, opportunity, success, or attention and then feel that feeling within, that tightening of your heart, I see that as envy and jealousy, yes. But more deeply, I see it as a faulty message about reality. It is trying to tell me that there is not enough love, not enough abundance, not enough success, not enough good to go around. It tells me the other is separate from me. But I do not think that is true. So I try to reinterpret that moment. I like to celebrate with others. I want to see the other person's reward as a win for the collective. We already understand this in our family life. When our child wins, we celebrate. When our spouse succeeds, we celebrate. Even when our favorite sports team wins, we celebrate as if we won. Why? Because we feel connected to them. So the real challenge is to widen the circle of connection, to see more people as being on your team, to see more people as being a part of the same spiritual family. To me, that is part of what loving your neighbor as yourself means. Their success is not a theft from you. Their success is not consuming some limited resource that was meant for you. If you feel this connection, then their success becomes easier to celebrate. But if you cannot celebrate right away, then again I say, ask questions. Why am I trying to believe? What am I trying to believe right now? What do I think I am being denied? Why does this feel threatening? What does this tighten or reveal about the story I am trying to tell myself? That is how the inner work can change you. Now, there can be a deeper wounds like betrayal, deception, and real injury physically and emotionally that people experience. Sometimes someone lies to you, someone uses you, someone wounds you emotionally or physically, or someone causes real disruption in your life. In those moments, I begin with awareness again. Others do not get final authority to deny my reality. They can absolutely hurt me. I am not denying that, but how I interpret that hurt and what meaning I build from it is still up to me. So I acknowledge the hurt inside. I notice the rise of negative emotion, maybe vengeance, maybe anger, maybe hatred, despair. And then I ask, what message is it trying to make me believe about myself? Is this really who I am? What fruit is this producing in me? If it is pulling me away from love, then it is not true. Even if the event itself was real and painful. One of the best examples I can think of is Jesus on the cross. Real pain, real torture, real harm, real death. And yet he says in his final moments of life, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." To me, that is one of the most powerful examples in all of spiritual literature of someone not allowing pain to redirect his deepest alignment with love. He experienced harm. He did not deny that. But he did not let it become the final orientation of his heart. He did not allow it to change him. And it is not because he is God incarnate. It is because he was so aligned with love, with God, that it could not change his orientation to love, to God. Now, that does not mean love has no boundaries. It is wise to set emotional and physical boundaries to protect oneself from unnecessary harm. Being loving to yourself matters. If I am continually harmed, manipulated, lied to, drained, or destabilized, that will impede my ability to show love and compassion to others. So no, being loving does not mean walking into the fray over and over again, allowing people to miss unrestricted access to me. It does not mean no boundaries. It does not mean no distance. It does not mean ignoring your own wisdom. If someone keeps lying to me, keeps disrespecting me, keeps taking advantage of me, then I look at their historical actions over time, their patterns of behavior. Words matter, intentions matter, but the heaviest piece of data for me is their pattern of behavior. If they say they love me but repeatedly harm me in the same way over and over, then something is deeply confused there, or deceptive there. Whether they know it or not, it is not wise for me to remain in that environment. So I step away, I remove access, I change the environment. I do not hate them, I do not get even with them, and I do not retaliate against them. These actions only create more of what I'm trying to move away from, but I can absolutely limit access. I can love at a distance. I can love without exposing myself to harm. I can love without giving them permission and the ability to continue injuring me. And sometimes the people who need those boundaries the most are the people we are closest to. Our mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, close friends, the people we love so deeply. Sometimes those are the exact people who know how to push our buttons and who easily pull us back into old patterns. So it is very important to understand that just because you love somebody, that doesn't mean they need full access to your life. It does not mean they need constant access to your time, your emotional space, your life process, your inner work, your daily life, or your body. Sometimes loving someone means changing the degree of access they have. And this is where your environment matters so much. So far, we have talked about beliefs, thought patterns, and proximity, but your environment also shapes you. You are who you are around, what conversations you entertain, what places you keep going, what energies you keep surrounding yourself with. All of that matters. If you are always around critical people, bitter people, gossiping people, cynical people, negative people, then that is going to become your normal for you. You are going to be drawn into those conversations. You are going to become more likely to think in those ways. You're going to have a harder time sustaining the alignment you may want with unconditional love. So part of cultivating deep love is asking, where do I put myself? What opportunities am I giving myself? How difficult am I making it to be the person I say I want to be? So understanding who you want to be is essential to understanding what kind of people you want to associate with in your environments. And this is why I recommend journaling so strongly. Even though I do not think it is the only path, it is the path I know. It is the path that has worked for me so powerfully. And I resisted it for years. I thought it was a waste of time. I thought maybe I did not need it. I thought maybe it was too cheesy or too forced. A lot of people resist journaling because they think they cannot write well. They think it has to sound pretty. They think it has to be some polished product. It does not. It is supposed to be deeply functional. It is supposed to bring personal awareness. It is supposed to help you identify and ask the deeper questions so that you know where you are currently and where you actually need to go. What I do every morning is sit down and set an intention for the day. I journal for 20 to 30 minutes, but you do not have to do it that long. 5 or 10 minutes can be enough to start, but it has to be intentional. It has to ask deeper questions. Who am I really? What do I believe about myself at the deepest level? What do I want to show? How do I want to show up today? What kind of man do I want to be today? How am I going to respond when I feel frustrated, when I feel unworthy, when I feel reactive, when I feel jealous, when I feel critical? What simple things am I going to tell myself? What simple actions am I going to practice? But by the end of the day, what do I want to feel like? What kinds of actions are going to produce that feeling? I write about all of this daily, no matter what I am feeling. When you free write like this in a stream of consciousness way, hovering around these kinds of deeper questions, then something magical starts to happen. Your mind begins to examine itself more concretely. You begin to change things. You begin to see your patterns. Then as you move through the day, you start becoming aware of your thoughts and patterns in real time. That is the magic for me. Awareness is the first key. Once you are aware, then you can be active in your transformation. Then you can choose more intentionally. Then you can disrupt old patterns that are not serving you. Then you can act differently, even if at first it feels forced. And yes, there is an element here of acting before it feels natural. Years ago, I had a girlfriend who was in AA recovery. She told me the same. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. People criticize this phrase sometimes, but I think there is real wisdom in it, if you understand it correctly. Before someone becomes sober, they often have to practice what a sober life looks like before it can really take hold. They have to stop drinking, do the daily actions, structure the day, behave in ways that align with sobriety before sobriety feels natural. They must behave in the ways that are aligned with sobriety. If you want to be a loving person, a competent person, a person who feels worthy, I must first ask myself, what would a loving person do and say to themselves? What would a competent person be like in this moment? What would a person who feels worthy of good things do right now? What would a loving person say and do? Then I must begin to practice that, not pretending like in a fake sense, but I must align myself in action before it begins to feel automatic and normal to me. I must fake it until I make it. Most people want the results, but they really don't want to change their practices and habits. They want life to change, but they want to live in the same actions and thoughts. They want it to spontaneously happen like magic with no actual effort. And that is why I say, if you do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. At some point, you must do something different. You must change the speed. You must change the modality. You must change the normal way in which you perform in life if you want to uncover something new. That usually requires some real effort. And doing something different, not just knowing something deep about yourself. Now this also applies to what we say and believe about ourselves inside, self-criticism, shame, self-condemnation, feelings of unlovedness. I think when someone is caught in those feelings, they're leaning into a message about themselves that is not true. We usually become what we believe about ourselves most deeply, not what we say with our words, although that can be a reflection of our beliefs, not even always what we think consciously, but what we feel is most true in our being. So when we say something to ourselves that diminishes us, shames us, belittles us, there is often a part of us that is trying to believe that message. And the reason it hurts so much is because our inner being, our soul, our spirit knows it is not true. And it loves us so much that it tells us this, that it tells us this isn't for you through negative emotion. It feels a tension within us. We experience inner conflict. The pain we feel is often friction between the false belief and the deeper truth that our spirit, our soul, our inner being knows and is communicating to us. And that deeper truth for me is that we are abundance. We are goodness. We are love. We are good by our very nature. That does not mean we always perform that way, but our deepest essence is not brokenness. So when someone believes a message like, I am unworthy, this to me is one of the most tragic deceptions we could ever hold, because I think that is one of the deepest lies a person can carry. They think they are somehow unworthy of abundance, success, belonging, goodness, or even love that they actually desire. And then they unconsciously perform right up to that belief. They sabotage their own lives unknowingly. They settle for things they do not have. They hold back when they could be free. They choose less when more is available. They align with something far less than love. In the Christian language, I would say God is always blessing us, but we tend to receive what we ask for at the level of our faith. In other words, we receive what we allow with our beliefs. In metaphysical language, I would say the universe responds to our alignment, to our deepest beliefs, not really our spoken wishes. We hope both are the same, but often they are really posed as wishes or hopes. This is why I believe faith is such a central proposition in the Bible. Story after story, we hear Jesus say in different ways, your faith has healed you. I read this as alignment deeply. I read this as our alignment deeply matters to our healing. It is our power to connect with the divine, which is always loving us, always flowing loving energy to us and through us. If we tap into that stream of loving consciousness, then it begins to carry us and we start to experience life differently and miracles can happen. And again, much of this is unconscious for people. I do not think most people consciously choose pain, and I don't think most people consciously choose suffering in this sense. That is why awareness matters so much. That's why metacognition matters so much. If we are to consciously align with God or love, then we must ask deeper questions. We may not control all of our circumstances, but we absolutely shape our experiences through our responses. And our responses are shaped by what we believe most deeply. This is why you have to fall in love with the person you are becoming. You cannot just do all this because you think it's the right thing to do. And you can't just do it because you want better outcomes. You can't just do it because you think it will get you what you want. At some point, you have to actually enjoy yourself. You have to actually love the person you are becoming. You have to become someone who you really want to be around, someone you respect, someone you enjoy inhabiting. Because if you do it for results, then it stays transactional, even at the level of self-improvement. It stays conditional. It stays strategic. And I don't think that's enough. I think you have to delight in the person you are growing into. You have to deeply love that person. You have to feel that person is your real home. And yes, this takes bravery. It takes honesty. It takes practice. It takes sitting in discomfort. It takes letting some old environments go. It takes limiting access to some people. It takes changing habits, and it takes acting differently before it feels effortless. It takes a lot of effort to get there sometimes, and if someone isn't ready yet, that's okay too. I'm not trying to force anyone to pick this up if they aren't really ready. I'm not trying to prescribe one rigid path for every human being. I'm only offering the path I know, the one that I have moved through. I am offering the way I know that has changed me. There are probably many ways to increase awareness. There are probably many ways to begin cultivating deep love. This is the way I know. This is the way that has become real in my own life. One last caveat. It is my experience that most people do not change until they are really ready and willing. As I mentioned before, many people want life to change, but they really do not want to do anything different. Sometimes they are not at that point yet. Sometimes they haven't hit their rock bottom yet. And that's okay. But when someone is really ready, really ready and willing, they will need something practical and honest and deep enough that matters. That is what I am trying to offer here. So if there is one thing I want you to walk away with, it is this. You do not have to wait for love to show up for you to love back. You can tap into this infinite stream of consciousness, that's this vast river of love, this ground of all being, right now, wherever you stand in life. It is already flowing to you, through you, and to all things. All you ever need do is allow it and follow its current. It is there. It's always there. The question is not whether it exists. The question is, are you going to let it move through you and allow it to carry you to all the wonderful destinations that you deserve? And if you begin to move with this flow of love, even a little, even if you begin to practice these things and begin to act in unconditional love consistently, question the beliefs that pull you away from love, set boundaries that protect your alignment with love, structure your life in ways that make love easier to embody, then you will find that the current gets stronger and stronger. Everything gets easier. The habits get stronger. The orientation of the heart becomes more natural. And before long, it begins to carry you to infinite loving possibilities that only knowing God in this way is capable of. I love you, and I mean that. Not because of anything you've done, not because of what you have achieved, not because you've earned it, but because that is what I choose to flow. And we are all universally connected in love already. And I am moving with the flow of unconditional love. And I invite you into that too. Start small if you need to, but be brave enough to start and watch what happens. Thank you again for being here with me, and I'll see you in the next study soon.